Race to the billionth dose picks up pace after massive fall over 8.3 billion doses today. And as that happens, more relaxations for Maharashtra, some for Karnataka as well. In Jammu and Kashmir, migrant workers worried but thank neighbours for help as there has been relentless violence in the valley. Poonch encounter on for the 8th day as well. As farmers observe rail roko, over 40 trains are cancelled today. Sack the union minister's son is the demand. And amid a power crunch, 75 coal trains also held up. In Kerala, rain continues to create havoc. 23 people lose their life. Funeral for 6 in just one family. Red alert, meanwhile, in Uttarakhand as well as record rains are seen in Delhi. Rain forecast for all states across the country, even in October, except Gujarat. Good evening and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Let's begin tonight with some good news. India's reported the lowest daily COVID-19 cases in almost 8 months. Covaxin is finally being considered for WHO clearance this month. And vaccines, well, India set to hit a milestone over there as well. A milestone of 1 billion doses. And the race to the billionth dose has picked up after a massive fall in vaccines that we've seen, in vaccination process that we've seen in the past couple of months. India today jabbed 8.3 million people, and that number steadily going up. We wait to see when that number is going to come to. But meanwhile, let's look at our total vaccine percentage. All right. India on the whole has fully vaccinated about 20.3% of its citizens. Topping the chart, and states that are topping the chart there are Kerala 36%, Gujarat 35.3%, Delhi 34%, J&K 33.3%, Andhra Pradesh 30.5%. And the worst, well, the lowest 5, if you see, Assam 18.5%, Tamil Nadu worse than that, 17.8%, Jharkhand 12.2%, and no prices for guessing, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh 11.3%. 10.7 worst performers, but also their population is much more. I spoke about this to Alok Pandey, trying to understand what exactly are the preparations in mind that government has, and also how big is the challenge of vaccinating all Indians.
We are very close. We are at 98 crores and 58 lakhs, etc. So it's a matter of time in the next 2 or 3 days. In fact, I am outside the residence of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister. You can see that there's a massive billboard that's come up here. I think Vineet will just show you. This is basically about COVID, about vaccinations. For instance, this graphic that's coming up says, "Aapka bhi number aayega," etc. So there's been a lot of publicity. There's been a lot of publicity around the COVID vaccination here. But I think we must also look at these numbers with a bit of balance, you know. For instance, for Uttar Pradesh, like you said, it is India's most populous state, so therefore the vaccination numbers will also be higher. Now they've managed to give at least 1 dose to more than 11 crore people, which is more than half of Uttar Pradesh's population. And that is no mean achievement, you know, it has to be lauded. But at the same time, the graphic that you were reading out is also very important to see, that Uttar Pradesh has just 10% of fully vaccinated people, which means that, you see, the most protection will come when you are going to vaccinate everyone with 2 doses, right? And that percentage for Uttar Pradesh still is 10.7%. We've been reporting on vaccination in Uttar Pradesh through the last few months, and we found that this percentage is growing very slowly, and that's an area of concern. How that will be addressed also remains to be seen. Beyond that, I think the celebrations will be like you would have in any BJP-ruled state.
And more good news and mostly relief for Mumbaikars. In fact, the whole of Maharashtra, there is timings for shops and restaurants to be extended after the recent meeting happened of the COVID task force with the Chief Minister. This comes a day after Mumbai recorded no deaths for the first time since the start of the pandemic. I spoke about this with Saurabh.
Well, it's definitely a milestone. Mumbai was always going to be the most difficult city when it came to tackling the pandemic. And for the government, it believes that now the worst is probably behind us, with vaccinations really going well in the city. They believe that it's time to now look at rebuilding the economy. And one of the worst sufferers in the pandemic have been restaurants, because they've been subjected to closures or restricted timings. Now, right now, a place like this, which is almost, at about 30% capacity in terms of crowds, will shut by 10. So the scope for business would be limited. Now, I have with me the person who runs this restaurant. Ma'am, I'd like to ask you, when the government decides to increase timings, which they've decided, it'll be known in a day or two, how does it help your business?
So, like the hospitality industry, as we all know, has suffered a lot of losses. We employ a lot of people. So, to make up for the loss, it will be important to extend the timings. And people usually don't step out of the house for dinner, until 9:30. So, we've been having customers who come at 10 and 10:15 and 10:30, and we have to, ask them to leave because we are shut at that time. So it will definitely help us to, make up the loss,
right,
and, to employ also more people and, up our business. Yeah.
So that's perhaps the sentiment at restaurants, and that's perhaps how you will see people reacting when these relaxations and the nature of these relaxations, at least the timings of extension, are announced.
All right, shifting our focus to Kashmir now, where the situation remains tense. Yesterday, 2 more labourers from Bihar were gunned down by terrorists, taking the number of civilians killed in the targeted attacks that are taking place in Jammu and Kashmir this month alone to 11. The situation was discussed with Amit Shah and the top security establishment in the country, especially since the killing in the valley have spread panic and led to an exodus of sorts of migrant labourers there as well. Remember, all this is happening as the Poonch encounter continued for the 8th day. Heavy blasts heard there as well.
On a rainy morning in Srinagar, the children of Vikas Chaudhary, a labourer from Bihar, are trembling in cold as they wait for taxi to leave Kashmir, leaving behind a life of 18 years. Vikas's neighbour Arvind Kumar, a Golgappa seller, is the latest victim of targeted killings in Kashmir.
बिहारी लोग को सबको मारता है, काटता है, बोलता है कि यहाँ से निकलो। एक ही मकान में हम लोग रहते थे।
Vikas's colleague and neighbour Ashish says they were given 3,000 rupees by the landlord for their bus fare, an example of the kindness of local people. But the repeated terror attacks have panicked their families back home.
कश्मीर लोग तो बढ़िया है, हम लोग को तो भाड़ा भी दिया 2-3 हजार रुपये दिया कश्मीर लोग की घर जाओ कोई बात नहीं है। घर में बहुत परेशानी है, वो बोलता है कि घर आ जाओ, वो हालत सही होगा फिर कश्मीर जाना, इसीलिए हम लोग घर जाने सर।
The response from the security forces remains confusing. They denied this advisory going viral on social media, asking police to carole migrants in their areas, in secure locations. But we found migrant workers being kept in secure locations, like in this government school. They say they were brought here last night.
सोए थे अभी खाना खा के, तो ये गए और रात को मतलब वहाँ से बोले कि आपको थाना जाना पड़ेगा। और घर में सिर्फ मैं ही अकेले कमाने वाला हूँ, क्योंकि बिहार में उतना काम वाम भी नहीं चलता है, सिर्फ मैं ही एक घर में कमाने वाला। मेरे छोटे छोटे 2 बच्चे हैं। ऐसे हालात हम लोग को कभी नहीं झेलना पड़ रहा था। अब रात में मुझे पुलिस यहाँ पे लाए हैं, रात से बैठे हैं। हम लोग यहाँ बैठ के क्या करेंगे? खाना भी खाना है, सब कुछ करना है।
The spate of attacks have come at a time when army is engaged in one of the longest and toughest anti-terrorist operations in Poonch, in Jammu. 9 soldiers, including 2 officers, have been killed in action since Monday last week. Today, heavy explosion and gunfire was heard as army pounded suspected terrorist targets in the dense forests. The governor of Meghalaya and former J&K governor Satyapal Malik took a dig at government for the spurt in attacks.
मेरे रहते हुए कोई टेररिस्ट श्रीनगर के 550-100 किलोमीटर के दायरे में घुस नहीं सकता था। अब तो श्रीनगर शहर में मार रहे हैं लोगों को।
On both sides of Pir Panjal in Jammu and Kashmir, situation has taken a dramatic turn, where army is engaged in one of the longest anti-militancy operations in Poonch, where they have suffered heavy casualties. spate of targeted attacks in the valley has forced many migrant laborers to flee. Minorities are living in a constant state of fear. Many wonder how come the situation has reached to this tipping point. In Srinagar, Nazir Masoodi for NDTV.
Parts of Bangladesh remain tense today as well after reports of arson and violence overnight in at least one district, despite strict police vigil against communal flare-ups happened ever since 13th of October. Now, several top police officers have been transferred, and the Home Minister, the Prime Minister have all warned culprits of strong action. Now, fearing a spillover effect, police even here home in Bengal have been put on high alert.
Protests at Shahbag in Dhaka against communal flare-ups across Bangladesh since 13th October, when the Holy Quran was allegedly desecrated at a Durga Puja pandal in Comilla town. Even on Sunday, Rangpur district reported arson despite strong warnings by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina earlier, and today the Home Minister.
এইগুলির পিছনে কয়েকজন ব্যক্তির এই ধরনের ঘটনা ঘটিয়ে একটা সাম্প্রদায়িক সম্প্রীতি বিনষ্ট করা এবং একটা বিশৃঙ্খল পরিস্থিতি সৃষ্টি করা, গভর্নমেন্টকে একটা বেকায়দা ফেলার জন্য এই সমস্ত প্রচেষ্টা।
The tension is spilling across the borders to Bengal and Assam too. BJP today protested attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh, in Guwahati and in Kolkata. The VHP plans 3 rallies in Kolkata on Tuesday.
Hindu people in Bangladesh, they are heavily being targeted. Bangladesh government should take appropriate measure to protect the minorities in there. Our government is in constant touch with them.
In Bengal, police in all districts have been put on high alert. Wednesday is Lakshmi Puja and Tuesday Nabi Divas, the Prophet's birthday. Strict vigil will be maintained till the end of the week at least. Monika Banerjee, NDTV.
Today also saw the 6-hour rail roko agitation by the farm unions over the demand of sacking Union Minister Ajay Mishra. Why him? Because his son, if you'll remember, had been arrested for the murder of 4 farmers for mowing them over in Lakhimpur Kheri. Now, the rail roko had a mixed impact, mostly in 3 states, Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh. The railways said that about 160 trains in these 3 states were affected, 43 of them cancelled.
43 passenger trains cancelled and a further 50 partially cancelled as farmers protested on railway tracks across Western UP, Haryana and Punjab over their demand for the dismissal and arrest of Union Minister Ajay Mishra. The son of the junior minister in charge of law and order is in jail for allegedly murdering 4 farmers in UP's Lakhimpur earlier this month. The UP police and farmers jostling against each other on the railway track in Bulandshahar's Khurja, a major railway junction. Farmers stalled the Lucknow-Delhi Gomti Express for 5 minutes before the police got the tracks cleared.
जब तक अजय टैनी गिरफ्तार नहीं होता, ये आंदोलन जारी रहेंगे, इस तरह के प्रोग्राम होते रहेंगे.
Elsewhere in UP, there was heavy security and even barricading around railway stations to prevent farmers from getting to railway tracks. Similar scenes from Haryana's Jhajjar to Punjab's border district of Firozpur, where farmers blocked the railway track at multiple locations.
Right now, on New Delhi Chandigarh railway track, we can show you that these are the visuals here. They have put up a banner on this railway track which goes towards Chandigarh, and farm union members, leaders from different unions have sat here on the railway track.
But the government appears unwilling to remove the minister. And in Lakhimpur, the police started investigating the other murder case where 2 BJP workers and a driver were beaten to death after the Thar SUV ran over farmers by recording witness statements. With Mohammad Ghazali, Samir Ali and Prateek Srivastav, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
With that, a quick break. News continues on the other side. Stay tuned. All right, let's bring you the latest in the rain situation over there. Well, rain created havoc in almost all parts of the country today. Well, whether it's Delhi or UP, Uttarakhand or Tamil Nadu, heavy rainfall was seen in all these places. If you look at the situation there, a red alert has been sounded in Uttarakhand. Delhi has seen a record rain, and the rain forecast has been given out for all states except Gujarat, even in the month of October, which is generally the time wherein a dry spell comes in. And now look at these pictures, crazy visuals coming in from Uttarakhand and Nainital, overflowing its banks, where the river there, it's now been raining for more than 24 hours straight. All national highways from Nainital, Ranikhet, Almora to Haldwani, even Kathgodam blocked because of that incessant rain.
In Kottayam, a funeral ceremony of a family of 6, including 3 daughters, the eldest of them just 13, and a 65-year-old grandmother. They are among the 24 bodies recovered from Kerala's Idukki and Kottayam after unexpected heavy rainfall and landslides on Saturday. In a contrast from the disaster and gloom here in Alapura, Akash and Aishwarya are hoping to start a new journey. A huge cooking vessel serves as a makeshift boat, so the couple can get to their own wedding venue.
Kerala is gearing up for another spell of possibly heavy showers from October 20th, and an expert panel has been set up to take critical decisions with respect to the rising water levels in reservoirs as well as rivers.
Kerala has witnessed heavy to very heavy downpour during last 2 to 3 days, resulting in widespread flooding, landslide and mudslide. These type of rains are also very rare in the month of October for Kerala.
Rains left Delhi's Ghazipur Mandi completely waterlogged, sinking the prospects of sellers at the vegetable and fruit wholesale market.
परेशानी है जहाँ हम 50-60 नग बेचते थे, आज 5 नग बेचते हैं। जो जीवन में सब जोड़ा था सब खा के बैठ कर, कुछ कोरोना काल में, कुछ नोटबंदी काल में। जब रात को 3 बजे से खड़े हैं, अभी देख रहे हैं मुंह किसी ग्राहक का कोई कस्टमर आया है।
With Shanakshi Chakrabarti in Ghazipur, Sneha Koshi from Thiruvananthapuram for NDTV.
That's all we could pack in this edition. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.